Hello, it's Helen from Journal with Purpose and welcome to my latest journaling video. In today's video I'm going to be sharing some pages showing how I still get creative and use my journal even when I don't have that much that I want to write about or to say on those pages. So I really hope that you enjoy it. I'm going to be using a plain standard size traveller's notebook insert that I keep inside a vintage-like cover from Stark Bay Notebooks. I find that using my journal, even when I don't have lots that I want to write about, is still really calming, and I can express myself through the colours I use and just a few carefully chosen words. And it means that I'll be adding lots more creative elements. I've started off by adding a strip of washi tape from London Gifties down the left-hand side of my page. And I know that I want to add a collage of some sort, so I'm looking through some papers that I've gathered together. And that beautiful vellum decorated sheet came from the Flow, I think it's the Paper Lovers book, and it has loads of beautiful papers and tags in there. So I'm going to tear down that vellum piece to the size that I want. Once I'm happy with the size of it, I add some Pritt Stick to the back, which I'm using to glue it down onto my page. I love that you can still see through the vellum and it gives a really nice texture to it, but you can see the pages underneath. And I'm just closing that book to make sure that the paper sticks right down at the inside. The next thing I'm doing is looking through some old book pages, and I'm going to pick a couple of pieces, and I'm trying to go for some really soft muted colours because I wanted my whole journal spread to have a really relaxing feel to it. The next thing I'm going to do is add some stamping to this plain receipt paper. I'm using a beautiful butterfly stamp from London Gifties with some black stays on ink. And you might have noticed in the top left corner of my journal page, when I used this ink on the last spread, it did kind of bleed through the paper a little bit, which is usual with that type of ink. So adding it to another piece of paper is a really good way of getting around that. I'm now just carefully tearing round the image of the butterfly. I'd already picked a quote for these journal pages, which was "With brave wings she flies," so I thought that that butterfly image tied in beautifully with the quote. I'm now playing around with the different pieces of paper to check where I want them to go on my page. And I often use a pencil to just mark out those edges so that when I take their pieces off, I can easily find where I want to glue them. Once I know that I'm happy with where all of those pieces are going, I'm again using some Pritt Stick to glue them onto my page. I then decided that I wanted to add a little bit more of that matching washi tape onto my page. So I'm going to tear it in half along the middle. The quote that I mentioned is one of the stickers in this Tim Holtz ideology book, and I'd had a flick through it before I started doing my journal pages, and I just really had a look for something that felt right. And sometimes finding the right quote for me can actually inspire my whole journal spread. And I love that. So I guess that's one of my tips. If you're looking for inspiration, perhaps look through quotes that you find on Pinterest or online. Think about what they mean to you and then use that to inspire your journal pages. So I've stuck that sticker down on top of the washi tape to help it stand out. The next thing I'm doing is using this vintage style alphabet stamp set, and I'm going to use that to stamp out the start of November on the top of my journal page. I often get asked where I bought this stamp set from, and unfortunately it's from an Etsy shop that no longer exists, but I have found something similar which I will link with all of the other products that I use in the description box down below. The next thing I'm going to do is add some watercolour to the right hand page, and I'm going to include a wash of a lovely purple colour called Crocus, which ties in with the vellum piece, and also add some silver on top. These watercolours come from London Gifties and the paintbrush is from Escoda. I quite often get given special promotions to offer my followers, like discounts or free products included in orders. So I try and keep the description box below updated with all of those, so that if there is anything looking for, it's always worth just checking that box to see whether there is anything that you might be able to use which would help you. One of the things I've been asked quite a few times and haven't addressed yet on social media is whether I'm going to be doing any more product range launches with Craft Stash. And the answer to that is no. I probably will share some more reasons and details behind that at a later date. But for now, I'm focusing on creating digital printables, which are available in my shop and also over on Patreon. And I will be offering a double bundle on Patreon for next month. And I also hopefully have some really exciting news to be able to share with you soon on a new collaboration. And I can't wait to tell you all about that. I added a stamp on the back of this tag, and I'm adding a few lines of journal writing on there. And this is one of the tags that I decorated in my recent YouTube tag decorating video. I'm going to be adding the tag to the right hand page, and that's why I made sure that that watercolour wash was quite large to make sure that it would still be peeking around the edge of that journaling tag. And I'm going to use a thin strip of washi tape on both sides to tip it onto the edge of my journal page. I'm really loving the soft muted colours, and I definitely feel relaxed looking at these journal pages. Next, I'm going to be using a dip pen with a Nikko G nib and this Pilot Iroshizuku ink, and these are both from Cult Pens. And you'll see I do have a reasonably major oops moment whilst writing with this, but I also will show you how I fix it. And the words that I'm going to be writing out are: keep following your own path. This is your journey, there's still time. And this was just a reminder to myself. I didn't want to do lots of writing, but these are the thoughts which keep repeating in my head and I'm telling myself a lot. And that was really the main part that I wanted to journal about on these pages. I love using a dip pen because it really forces me to slow down and think about what I'm doing. But as you will see in a moment, I managed to flick a pretty large black ink blob onto my journal page. I don't even know how I did it, but when I looked up, suddenly it was there. And you can see it right at the top next to the word path. So I could have just left it, but I just thought it kind of detracted a little bit from the peaceful feeling of the page. So I hastily looked through my stickers, and Job from Job's Journal, you came to the perfect rescue. I found these lovely muted coloured dots. So I've added one over the ink blob, and then I'm going to add two onto the opposite page so that it ties everything in. And as I always say, it's another one of those happy accidents because I really like how those stickers look on my page. I really hope that you're doing well and that you enjoyed this video. If you did, it would be great if you'd leave it with a thumbs up. And if you're new to my channel, I would love it if you'll consider subscribing. And as always, I want to say a huge thank you to everyone who's already supported me over on Patreon. Thank you for watching. I look forward to speaking with you really soon in the next one.